Hello, I'm Scotty
And
O,
I'm Melanie.
and you are on Ecstatic Hearts Tantra Talk. Today's topic is communication. So, welcome. This is a huge topic, by the way. We could spend a whole weekend on this, but we're basically going to give you some tips on how we think you can better communicate. Would you like to start?
I think you should start.
Okay, so communication. Gosh, where to start? I guess one of the things I'm going to start with is like classic things, classic ways of communicating. When you take classes in school and so forth, they say these are some things you need to know about communication. It's important to remember people's names, which it is. Most communication is nonverbal, not verbal. I think it's like 7% is the words you say, 13% is how you say, and like 80% is the nonverbal around it. So there's things like making eye contact and having an open body and all of these different techniques. However, what I think is it's good to practice this, and this is what like things like Toastmaster do. That's our dog communicating. But which can be good. However, I think what works even better is getting to the beingness of communication. Because if you focus on your way of being, then all that other stuff, all the nonverbal communication comes through automatically. You don't have to really focus on it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and what I mean by that. But let's see. Do you want to continue, or should I just keep talking to you? Want to jump in?
Sure, I'll talk a bit.
Okay.
All right. So, one of the key things to know about tantric style of communicating is being present.
Yeah.
So, everybody can feel whether you are present with them or not. We can feel in our bodies whether you are sitting there and listening to us and being present, taking it in. And the moment you are gazing off into the distance, your mind's thinking about other things, you're thinking about what you want to say next, and you're not actively there and present with your partner, we notice. And it doesn't feel so good whenever the person you're talking to, especially when it's your intimate partner, is not being present with you. It's like, why am I even talking? Just to hear the sound of my own voice? If they're not going to be present and listening and engaging with me, then it feels really, really bad having your one-way dialogue with them.
Yeah, I mean, ask yourself. It's like if you've ever really been in love with someone, did you have conversations that lasted into the night? We did. We forgot to eat, our first date and so forth.
Midnight, that was our first dinner.
Or have you felt that, like, have you ever felt really loving and connected with someone when they were not, when you're having a conversation with them and they're like off in the blues, talking about something else, or, looking distance? Most people need to feel a connected presence. They need your attention to feel loved and appreciated. And so that's the first step, is just using witness consciousness, just being present. If we can just let go of the past and not worry about the future and just be here now in this moment, that's where life's juice is. That's where people feel loved and connected. That's the only place love exists. So that's a really important one. And what are some ways we can practice being present?
Well, one way is we can practice with engaging in eye contact when you talk.
Yeah, it's hard to be thinking about other things when you're looking away and so forth, but eyes tend to grab your attention.
Yeah. Gazing into each other's eyes really helps you to stay present and stay focused with each other on the conversation, whatever you're doing, whether it's nonverbal communication or verbal communication.
And that's a practice too, because a lot of people feel a little uncomfortable looking in your eyes. It's like he's eyeballing me, or like, it's like you feel nervous and what are they thinking? And, some of us, it spins us out in our heads. And that's why it's a practice. But if you get used to making eye contact when you communicate with people and you practice, it becomes natural and normal, and the person feels more connected. Another one I like to do is breathing. It's like I was actually demonstrating that too. It's like when you want to get grounded and present and in the moment, just take a breath. And just notice. Focus on your breath. Quiet your mind. Quiet the monkey mind chatter that's going on in your head, and so forth, so you can really listen to what's currently going on. And you can also om, like we usually start some of our talks off with aum, which is the feminine form of oming, or just om. And you want to just practice a quick om and show them what we're talking about?
Sure, we'll do the OM version. Om.
Just one om.
Deep breath in, spine straight.
Like straight. Oh. try that yourself. Like just doing that helps me slow down and get more present and get more connected with what I'm saying.
And grounded.
And grounded, yeah, that's important for some of us. For most of us, actually. The other thing about that too is that you probably want to do an Om like in the bathroom or something before a meeting or before you do public speaking, or to ground, take a deep breath. And you might want to Om with your partner. Like, if you both practice Tantra, especially before you're about to have like a serious conversation or a loving evening, or any time you want clear communication, you can Om and breathe with each other and kind of set that intention and being really connected and present before you even start the conversation. And that'll make a big difference. If you're coming from anger or frustration or whatever, and you're bringing that into your communication, then that gets in the way, right? The other thing too about that,
it definitely gets in the way.
It gets in the way, and it usually creates additional problems.
Yeah. I can tell you that if my partner or someone else who I'm strongly connected with is attempting to communicate with me, and they're coming from anger, upset, frustration, condescension, any of those things, all I feel is all of those emotions. And I put up shield walls. I'm like, walls, shields. And I retreat into myself and I stop listening. And it doesn't matter what they're saying or what they're asking of me or what questions they're asking. I just don't want to communicate any further because I don't want to take in that energy and I don't want to be a part of that energy. So I just retreat in. So that's one thing that can happen if you're coming at your partner with all this aggressive type energy.
Right.
So if you are feeling upset and those are your emotions that you're experiencing with your partner, you might want to try doing the deep breathing. Just breathe that energy down, release some of it.
Yeah, we do the Tonglen breath. The Tonglen breath is what she's kind of demonstrating, is where you breathe in all your ickiness, all your stress, all your pressure, your anger, whatever. You can do this with us. Breathe it in. And then transmute it into love and acceptance. And just visualize a shift in your body. And keep doing that, bringing it in. And you're really feeling the ickiness. You're really, getting into it. Feel ickiness and just transmute into love. And the more you do this, the easier it gets.
And you're sending the energy down into the ground with each exhalation. So you're kind of like sending all that anxious energy, frustrated, angry energy into the ground. And then you can come and communicate with your partner from a more grounded spot, from less anxiety, less anger, less frustration, and a clearer head. And you can express what you're feeling with fewer intense emotions attached to them, emoting at your partner. Some people can handle emoting. That's expressing strong emotions at a person. And it may be the person that you're expressing them at, or it may be a person who's being your safe space for you to express them at. And some of us have a hard time handling emoting when they are directly being expressed to us.
That's actually why, there's a role for mediators, counselors, psychotherapists, is so that you can go to a third party and emote, and they're not emotionally charged and connected to and triggered by your emotions to go into their emotions and so forth, that kind of spin you down this rabbit hole. And you can kind of get clarity and then come back and talk to each other, or even have facilitation for communication.
You can emote all these emotions at them and then have a clear conversation with your partner.
Now, if you don't have someone that can hold space for you, it's just basically someone just being there while you're emoting, which is also a Tantra technique, you can do this with the universe. So, if you're really angry and you're just like, and it's like too much energy for you to transmute, I like to go take a drive around the corner, or even walk down the street around, just walk around the corner, do something physical, and then scream and rage at the universe. I can yell all the things that I'm angry with her about and get it out of my system. And then I can do some Tonglen breaths or calming breaths. And then I can focus on how I want to be and focus on what beingness I want to create when I go back in and talk to them. And then I have a conversation.
Works a whole lot better.
Yeah.
I can listen to him and his upsets when he's not charged with all this great ball of angry and frustrated energy towards
Yeah,
me.
because we want to reiterate that a part of being tantric is to fully feel your experience. It's not repressing. We're not talking about putting your emotions down and pretending they're not there. We're talking about fully feeling and expressing your emotions and letting them out, just like a kid, fully feeling it, letting it out. But like a kid, you can go from I'm angry 1 minute to boom, I'm happy the next. Because once you fully feel it and express it, then no longer has a hold on you. It no longer controls you. And then you can shift your emotions into something else. And we're not talking about repressing and trying to pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
another quick tip on what to do with your difficult emotions is journaling.
oh yeah, that's good.
It's really helpful to journal everything out. So you say everything you want to say in your journal and then everything else. And it's really therapeutic just to let it all out in a journal.
Or
And
write a
you don't
letter.
have to hold back.
Write a letter to the person and you tell them everything you think about them, and then don't mail it, throw it away. Actually, I think Abe Lincoln used to do that. He would put the letter out there, and his wife would go and get it out of the mailbox. And the next morning, she'd say, "Would you like me to send this now?" And he'd say, "Probably not." And he wrote a different one that would be more PC. But
yeah. And really, writing letters to each other about your emotions is not a bad idea. Scott does that for me a lot, and I can handle letters from him a whole lot better than I can handle hearing directly from him while he's really charged.
And here's the thing, gals, is that the reason that this is important is because we tend to, as humans, have interpretations about something that happens versus the event, and we think they're the same thing. And we teach a whole nother class on this too, but the point is that when we think something is wrong and needs to be fixed and blah, 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 it's our interpretation of it. And I could have a very different interpretation than she could. In fact, most humans have different interpretations about the exact same events. Like 80% of the time, people are not in agreement with their interpretations. And so that's one of the reasons it's important to write. And when you're writing down what you're feeling, don't write down like you are a blah, 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 So write down my experience was this. And start with your own feelings.
When this event occurred, I felt this.
Or I'm not. You can check in with your assumptions, like I'm interpreting that you're angry with me. Is that so? Or you can just say, my feeling, because it triggered something from my past. All of us have a past. All of us have stuff that happened that has kind of lodged in our brains, that in our bodies actually, that have could be fear, shame, guilt, all these things. Which part of Tantra is letting all these things out so they don't control us anymore. But all of us have stories. All of us have patterns that we've made to protect ourselves. And our subconscious job is to keep putting those stories in place, keeping us the same so that we're safe. The problem is if we want to change and grow and create new things, we want to be different and we need to break out of our unconscious patterns. And so by being present, going back to the very first thing we talked about, we can notice whether, oh, look, she's saying something that's triggering me, and instead of me going down the rabbit hole of me getting angry and doing this that triggers her, and then she gets angry and triggers me, and we do this circle. You anyone out there know what I'm talking about? If you've done this kind of dance, we call it a circle trap. I can notice, but only through being present, say, oh, look, I'm just noticing my anger coming up. I'm noticing something triggering me, so I'm going to stop. And instead of doing what I automatically want to do and get her good because, I know just how to dig it in, I want to stop and go, you know what? I'd rather be coming from love. I'm gonna be wrong. I'm gonna actually look for reasons to be wrong because it lets her be right. It lets the world be right, and it lets me grow. If I'm right, I can never grow and learn. So then I can say, okay, what can I do to shift this from love? Because I'm committed to love. I'm not committed to anger or disconnection and so forth. And then that changes everything. Then I can create a different action from the same event because my interpretation is different, and that puts me on a whole new trajectory. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's deep stuff, folks, but being present helps.
And I just want to say, we were just discussing some of the harder emotions, such as anger, frustration, rage, upset, things like that. And these techniques work as well for the other side of the spectrum of hard emotions, of feeling strong emotions of love and infatuation and things like that. And you can still write love letters to your partner and let them know exactly how you feel about them, because sometimes it's still really difficult to express in words in person to your partner how much you care and how much you love them and how much you adore them. And believe me, it never gets old. And he has written me so many love letters for like every
You
special
probably do for another
occasion
one.
and random ones as well. It doesn't even matter if he says the exact same thing in every love letter. It still feels amazing every time. It's like, oh, you still care. Oh.
I actually suggest striving for new things to write all the time, because then you're continuously looking and engaging your brain and activating it to, ooh, what else do I love about this special person? What else do I appreciate in her? And so Melanie's bringing up the next thing is one of the best ways of tantric listening, I think, are coming from gratitude, appreciation, acceptance, and love. You know, if you go into that, if you focus on that way of being first and then have communication, then your date night will be spectacular. So that's an important way to do it. And you can do that. One of the ways is journaling again, or writing love letters, but like focusing on not the things you're angry about or upset with, but what are the things I love about it? What makes this relationship work? Why is she so special? What does she do for me that no one else can do? All these wonderful things that make relationships so wonderful.
Yeah,
and that's why we do them.
Why is this person the special person I want to be with? Why is this person the person I choose to spend my life with, or my day with, or my dinner with?
Yeah.
Or the night with?
Right. So other ways of being. So again, if you focus on your beingness, the rest of it will happen, okay, so present, being loving, being, some things.
Open body language is really good.
Yeah.
So just having your body being more open means you are open to receiving your partner.
Yeah, and that along with openness is like accepting, is like just allowing what is. Whatever we resist persists. So if we're like, it's like, I don't want you to keep doing this. I don't want you to keep doing this. I don't want you to keep doing this. You're putting out in the universe, keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this, because the universe and our subconscious doesn't understand not. So when you're putting stuff in our brain, if whatever you're focusing on and attaching to, you're putting energy around. So just accept what is. So you know what? Maybe she's never going to do the garbage, and I just get to do it and figure out how to do it lovingly, or whatever it is. Another thing too is intention, right? It's like, be intentional about what you want to create. If your intention is to create a romantic night and have her feel loved, think of that first and go in with that thing. If your intention of communication is to uncover something and really vent stuff that people have been, either of you have been kind of holding back or not being upfront about, be intentional about that, because whatever your intention is, where your focus goes, energy flows and results follow. So that intention too can be really powerful, even if you're just listening from intention. Let's talk about listening for a second. That's an important one. How important is just listening to people? What does that mean? Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So listening is hugely important. We touched on this at the beginning, being really present with your partner and being connected with your partner while you're engaged in communication. So ways that you can do really great listening. One great way, just listen. Don't interrupt. Just be quiet, open, loving, accepting, and just listening. Letting your partner express everything they have to express. And then asking, is there more? And maybe asking some probing questions to see if they've gotten everything out they want to express. And then once they've expressed everything, recap in your own words what you just heard, or in their words even what you just heard. Because people like to know that they've just been heard and understood. Whether it doesn't matter what you're communicating. People like to know that you just heard them, that you just got them. So express in your own words what they just said and ask, did I understand you right? And then they'll be like, yeah, you totally got me. Or they'll be like, no, you didn't get me at all. I said this. And sometimes they'll say that even if you just reworded it, because using your own words doesn't sound exactly the way they said it. And sometimes we get into this little slip up of making interpretations of what they said and telling back what they said based upon our interpretations. Sometimes our interpretations are not what they just said and was not what their interpretation
of. But we don't even see a difference. We think they're the same. Our interpretations and events, we think they're the same. So that's why checking in with your assumptions is important.
Yeah, right. Really huge. And then you can express what your thoughts and feelings are on the subject. only after they've had a chance to express everything they wanted to say.
Yeah, like have the patience to take turns. Like this is one of our things even today is we both like to talk. If you've been watching our videos, you know this. And one of the challenges we had is like, I'm going to talk and she wants to talk. And sometimes we don't agree. And so, just balancing how we communicate with you is one of the practices. I have to continuously have the intention of, okay, shut up now and ask her what she wants to say or what she wants to share. Because I have to keep reminding myself because otherwise I'll just I keep talking. So
some of us grew up in families that like to interrupt each other a lot.
Ours. Both of them. That's why and so it kind of works for us, but it doesn't always work for other people.
We're used to interruptions, and we're used to interrupting in order to get any 2 cents in edgewise, or else we might both talk for hours. Who knows?
But some people are more introverted, or they're more have a different environment where interrupting people was rude. So I'll just reiterate what Melanie said because that was really important. This is a practice that you can do with your partner tonight if you have a partner. And that is to say, let's just, first of all, create space, right? Create time and availability, like create a date night. This is a good thing to do before the date even starts or during the date so that you kind of get into a romantic, soft, connected space before lovemaking. Or you can do it after lovemaking when you're in that soft, juicy space. The point is,
hello talk.
The point is that you want to take turns and say, okay, who would like to go first? And have one of you be an active listener and the other one share. And then the other person say, what would you like to share? And so then the person shares from their perspective what their experience is and versus their interpretation, like this is what I've been feeling and experiencing. Just share your own experiences, right? And then the other person says, is there anything else you'd like to share? And when they say no, then you repeat, or you take it in chunks. If it's like a really long share, it's like, okay, after a little time, so okay, let me pause. What I'm hearing you say is blah 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 blah. Is that accurate? Then she says yes or no. She clarifies, and then you say continue, and then they continue. So get everything out that you want to share. That's a big part of it right there. That's like 80% of it. Most people just want to be heard. So if you just let them vent or feel or express or say what they want to say, that resolves like a lot of the emotional upsets that people have. Then after you shared, the other person can share, or you can keep going in making requests. And here's the other thing too. Requests, in my experience, always work better than demands. When someone gives you an order or says you need to do something or whatever, that alone can trigger a lot of people. But if you make a request like, would you do X for me? Or, may I do blank or whatever, then that gives the other person the option of buy-in and they feel empowered and respected and so forth. So make a request and don't ever agree to a request that you aren't aligned with, that's not integrity with yourself. She might say like, my request is that you always do the trash forever for the rest of our lives. And there might be times when I'm not willing to do that, or I don't know, my higher mate or something. So I might say, no, I'm not going to accept that. However, I will do the trash today, or, I will, do the trash majority of the time, but perhaps you can help me with little baskets around or something, around the house. I mean, the point is that just do something that you're authentically accepting if you agree to the request. And then the other person makes a request. So you both have a chance to hear while the other person's quiet. The other person reiterates, so you make sure you got it right, that you're checking with interpretations, or is it as accurate as you can. And then you both make requests and make it something simple, something clear. And that alone can, having that kind of conversation once a week or once a month even can make a profound difference in your life. And actually the lessons that are going to be coming down to teach our workshop are masters at this. The Celebrating Sacred Sexuality is a class that we're going to be having the last weekend of October. And they've been supporting us, and they're experts at communication. We highly recommend you guys come on.
And their book, Tantra for All Chakras, highly recommend it. It's chock full of exercise and practices on communication techniques, as well as other Tantra practices. And we found lots of value with it.
Yeah, and it's only $4.95. And if you want to combine that with sexual empowerment, which is our very exciting class about owning your sexiness, and we'll get more to that later, that's going to be the first week of October. The lessons are going to stay here for a week in between to teach private lessons for those who want to do it. But if you want to do both classes, I think they're each $4.95 now. And if you do them together, it's like $8.95. So FYI, but just check Ecstatic Cards /Tantra/empowerment if you want to see that. What else? Okay, so
we just talked about really listening from a place of letting your partner say everything and just being a quiet, receptive space. And most of the time when we talk, it's okay to add in agreements, make head shakes, and make comments that lets your partner know that you are actively listening with them and on the same page. The only caution is, remember to keep it on what your partner's saying. So don't steal the
conversation and start going off on your own tangent and so forth when they are still in the middle of their thing, because you get so excited about it, you want to talk about your stuff and everything else. So let them do it. I was just an example.
It was only kind of an example.
Kind of example, I know.
He just stole exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Now, there's times and places for everything, right? There's times and places for you to be angry and vent. There's times and places for you to be silent and listen. There's also times for you to be passionate. Like, that's another very valid communication style. Like, we like interrupting each other. So sometimes when we're really excited about something, we'll like say, hey, do you want to go to vacation to Aruba? And you're like, I always want to go to Aruba. I want to go swim with the dolphins. We'll say, oh, I totally want to swim with the dolphins too. And we get mai tais and get massages and blah, blah. And we just take turns interrupting each other and building our vision and getting more and more excited about it. And that's okay too. You know, if you want to create passion and excitement with someone, that's a great way to enroll people too. And whatever their dreams or your dreams are, is to build the vision and build excitement and get excited about what you guys can create together. So that also works.
Yeah. So that works whenever you're like on the same page and excitement together, building that conversation together. The tricksy thing to remember is it's best not to jump into the middle of someone else talking and interrupting them and steal the conversation and change the subject.
Yeah. Or rain on their parade.
Yeah.
If they're excited about something, you don't have to me it, you know, because that kind of doesn't really serve a purpose.
And just as we said, you know, even interrupting and changing the topic can be appropriate sometimes. Let's say someone's talking about something that's totally inappropriate and making you and everybody else feeling totally uncomfortable, and y'all are just done with that conversation. So maybe jumping in, interrupting, and changing the topic is what you gotta do. That happens in my family too.
Different topic. Okay, so another thing is inclusion versus exclusion. Listen from how we're the same. Listen from a perspective of what can you appreciate of the person. So it goes back to what you focus on, you'll get more of. If you're focusing on how we're different and how blah, blah, blah is negative, XYZ, then that's what you're going to find evidence for. If you're thinking about, hey, what do I like about this person? What, you know, even if let's say it's someone like, let's say you're a parent and your child is bringing home their new lover, and it's like that person is obviously not a good enough fit for your daughter or son or whatever. But instead of like looking for all the things that are wrong with them, look for the things that you can appreciate and accept about them. Or some you work with is maybe a better example. It's like, you know, this is your new boss or your new coworker, and you're like, God, I have to work with this person, but they just don't really strike you as someone you would love to work with. See if you can focus on what you can work with. See if you can focus on what you do like about the person, because the Tantra is all about inclusion versus exclusion. It's about feeling and knowing that we're all connected, we're all one. And that's one of the things I love about Tantra, which makes me feel more connected, is it's not just an intellectual game, it's a visceral, energetic game. Like, I can actually feel how connected I am with other people from their energies sometimes. And the more they do Tantra, the more I can feel them. And it's just knowing that we're all the same, that whatever, if I'm ignoring this person, I'm hurting myself. If I don't see the greatness in that person, then I'm not seeing the greatness in myself. If I'm focusing on complaints, whatever I complain about in other people is something I don't like internally. We're all the same. We're all in this game together. So if you can look at us all as one big team, one big family, even all lovers, you know, unconditional loving everyone is the ultimate form of enlightenment I'm striving for. And I encourage you to see what you can do there too. What other things? Any other ways of being, honey, in our last minute, or anything else you'd like to share? How about recap? Gosh, we did a lot of stuff.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I like to hear and to receive as well as to give. Thank you for sharing. It's like someone's acknowledging that you just shared and is appreciating what you just shared with them and had to offer. So I think that's a lovely practice to include when you're having deep conversations with someone. And from a place of love and acceptance. Sometimes if you say, oh, thank you for sharing, that can kind of sound condescending. if you're not careful with how you say
Yeah,
that
just be
and where
legitimate.
you're coming from.
Be authentic with it.
But yeah, usually like we do this a lot in our Tantra classes at the end of sharing time is thank you for sharing.
Yeah, because everyone's sharing is valid. Everyone has lessons to teach all of us.
And we just feel validated and heard with our sharing when someone appreciates our sharing like
And we
that.
can learn from everyone. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Next week, we're going to attempt to be at the right time at right day, but we're going to be driving to Burning Man. So I'm not sure if we're going to have internet connection. We'll do our best.
We'll see.
We'll
be
see.
on the road.
And if not, we'll do it later and then put it back up on Facebook. So anyway, we appreciate your time. Thank you for listening to this communication. And if you want to know more, we would love to see you hang out at ecstatichearts.com. And that's it. Check in next week.
Bye-bye.
Maybe we'll see you at Burning Man.